This is a Fox 4 special report.
Thanks for joining us. We're cutting into your regular programming right now because we're just minutes away from a solar eclipse. I'm Kevin Barry. The Kansas City area is only going to see about a 90% of the sun covered this afternoon. That's already started, though. You can see how that breaks down across the rest of Missouri and, of course, Kansas. South and east of Missouri gets you closer to a full eclipse in the path of totality. And that's where Mountain View, Missouri is. It's near the path of totality. It's also where Fox 4's Michelle Bogowith is hanging out this morning. So, Michelle, what are you guys seeing down there? What's that like?
Okay, so I have to tell you this much, Kevin. We have started to see it get just a little bit darker around here and a few degrees cooler than what it was. John, who has never seen an eclipse before, noticed that right away and said something immediately. So he's kind of geeking out with me too right now. We are super excited because right now we do have still the view of the partial eclipse, but as you had mentioned, yes, we are in the path of totality. And what makes this eclipse so unique, so different than even the one we saw in 2016 is that we have a wider path, as it extends from 2017's was between 62 and 71 miles in width. This one even wider, 108 to 122 miles in width. So it's covering more ground. The totality will be even longer. And what's really exciting this year, we are seeing maximum solar activity. So what I mean by that is that the sun is near the maximum with respect to the solar flares, the prominences. They could even see a coronal mass ejection. So basically an eruption on the sun in the corona once we do reach totality. All of these things making the solar eclipse more exciting than the previous one in 2017. We will have 99% of the people in the United States getting to experience at least a partial solar eclipse. But with this path, there are so many more people compared to 2017. In 2017, there was about 12 million people in the path. Compared that to today, 31.6 million people are in the path, and that doesn't even count the people who have come from far away locations right here even in Mountain View, Missouri, to witness this very rare celestial event. We talked with some folks from Texas who came up because of the storms down there. They were unable to obviously view that, so they took a trip and they are here. They have their telescope with the correct lens on that so that they can view and enjoy this rare event here in southern Missouri. We are so excited and getting closer and closer to the peak here of totality. Now that'll be coming up about 1:56.
So that's about 9 minutes from now, coming up on 8 minutes from now. I know you talked about the temperature already starting to drop, but also we know that animals act differently. Have you seen that kind of thing? Or, do you hear birds less? How does that work, Michelle?
Okay, so I will tell you this. I remember very vividly, Kevin, I know you weren't here in 2017, but I remember very vividly that I was outside at the station and we literally saw bats flying around once we neared totality. It was a weird, bizarre feeling. I'm getting goosebumps right now just talking about it. But a lot of folks did bring out their dogs. I've seen a lot of dogs running around. But honestly, people are starting to just gaze up at the sky because they don't want to miss a single second of what is happening and what is about to take place.
That is so cool. And of course, like you mentioned before, we're about 6 minutes away and we see the moon kind of slowly inching forward, see less and less of the sun. So how is this going to change at the moment when you hit the full eclipse where you are, Michelle?
Okay, so this is how this will play out. We already saw first touch. So that was when the moon just started to touch the sun, and that kicked off the partial solar eclipse. Now from here, as we near totality, there's, let's just say, 3 steps to getting there. So at first, once we near the totality mark, you will see Bailey's beads form. I know we've talked about this before, but to give you an explanation of what exactly this is. So this is when the sunlight is shining through the valleys on the edge of the moon. And this will only last mere seconds. From there, the Bailey's beads begin to disappear until one bead is finally left. And that will leave us with this stunning diamond ring effect. It literally looks like a diamond ring. It will be shining very brightly. And as I learned from some of the folks that are here that have witnessed eclipses before, this is simply the best part. So this signals us entering into totality. And then once totality actually occurs, the moon is completely covering the sun. It is going to create a glow of the outer atmosphere of the sun, or the corona. And then you might even see some streamers, and it is even possible to see solar flares or solar prominences. And what I mean by that is eruptions that are coming off the sun because of the higher solar activity that we are seeing right now. And then once we go through totality, which here in Mountain View, it should only be about close to about 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Wow. If you were to head about an hour and a half east towards Poplar Bluff, Missouri, deep in the Boot Heel, you're going to get over 4 minutes of totality. So we have a little less here, but overall, once we come out of totality, we'll see that diamond ring effect likely once more, and that'll follow up with the Bailey's beads one last time before the peak ends, and then we return back to that partial eclipse.
That's so cool. Let's keep Michelle with us in southeast Missouri, but let's also take a look right now in Lee's Summit. You see the picture-in-picture here. We have folks at Lee's Summit Middle School taking a look outside. These are kids outside. You can see a lot of them having their eclipse glasses on, taking a look up at the sun right now. So again, only about a 90% coverage in the Kansas City metro area where Michelle is and where that picture is on the bottom right part of your screen. That's in the path of totality. So as this plays out, that last sliver of sun is going to disappear because that's totality. The folks that we're looking at right now on your full screen are in Lee's Summit enjoying what's got to be close right now to 90% coverage of the sun right now. Of course, that's Summit Lakes Middle School in Lee's Summit, Missouri. So, Michelle, in 90% coverage, though, folks are still getting quite a show, even though they're well outside the path of totality.
Oh, you are most definitely getting a full-on show. I mean, this is a rare event. You know, I know we have eclipses on Earth, but you don't necessarily always see them coming over land, and you also don't necessarily see them so close together like we just had one in 2017. So yes, you are going to get an amazing view, but it is not going to be that stunning effect that you see with the Bailey's beads, with the diamond ring effect. That is extra special, and we were so fortunate and lucky in the Kansas City area to have that back in 2016, to experience that. And once you do, I tell you what, Kevin, once you see it once, you want to keep seeing them every single time one of those paths cross here in the U.S.
Yeah, no, this area is really lucky to have some just a few years apart. This is Lee's Summit. Let's head to Overland Park now. The Overland Park Arboretum. We talked about all the folks are really spread out there at the Arboretum, taking a look up top. You can see some of their eclipse viewing glasses as well. Plenty of time there. And we're starting to see in the Lee Summit picture and now the Overland Park picture, it is starting to get a little bit darker, Michelle. So it's not going to get obviously as dark as totality, but folks can expect to lose some of that sunlight. And I know Alex was telling us before to actually get ready for some of the shadows to sharpen on the ground. So that's just one of these kind of really cool downstream impacts of an eclipse or a near total eclipse.
Yes, most definitely. And you will see some of that shadowing effect. You will see a little bit of a darkening of the sky, but it's not going to go completely dark in the Kansas City area. But down here in Mountain View, it will go completely dark. It'll feel like the middle of nighttime, but it's just such an odd occurrence because you have, yes, the moon, but also the sun. And it will be quite the experience no matter where you are. Totality, yes, it is an incredible experience. But even what we are seeing up in Kansas City, it is going to be something special.
That's so cool. Now we have your guys shot up on the full screen right now. This is Mountain View, Missouri in the far southeastern part. They're in the path of totality. We've watched that little sliver of sun slowly kind of melt away as the moon shifts up. And I mean, it almost looks like if you stare at it now hard enough, you can almost see some of the edges of that sun start to slip away. And so, Michelle, if you can kind of guide us through, we're about 3 or 2 minutes now from totality. How will the picture that we see change? Because you guys will be able to take off your glasses. You'll presumably be able to take off the special filter we need on the camera to be able to see this. And it's going to be like nightfall at that point, right?
Yes, it sure is. And I mean, like you said, we are just minutes, just a few minutes. All I can see right now is just this very fine sliver, tiny little sliver of sunlight still peeking through. Oh. And once that does start to disappear, you will start to see the little Bailey's beads bubbling up, and then it'll shift over to that diamond ring effect here very shortly. Once that hits and we go into totality, oh my goodness, we are getting so close. Yeah. Once we go into totality, yes, that is when we will be able to remove our glasses. Now in Kansas City, you can't do that. You can only do that when you are in the path of totality and you reach totality. That is the only time that you are allowed to actually take your solar glasses off. So we are coming dangerously close to this, and there is not much of that sun left to peek behind that moon. It's getting very, very dark here, Kevin, very dark, and it's getting very cool. I think the temperature has dropped another couple of degrees. I'm looking at my watch, and I know we were in the mid 70s at least once we had the sun, but once it did start to get darker, it feels like the 60s at least. Here we go. We are coming so close. Okay, so the Bailey's beads are going to be popping up here very, very shortly.
Wow.
And there it is. There's the diamond ring effect. There is the total eclipse. Oh my goodness. It is absolutely stunning. I unfortunately missed out on the total eclipse. Back in 2017, we were at 99.99% at the station, and this, I tell you what, guys, it's kind of emotional. It is a beautiful thing to see. Oh my goodness, it is so beautiful.
Amazing. I know we're trying. There it is. So I know we were moving around some of the filters as well, and so now we're seeing the total eclipse. What a great shot by Michelle Bogowith and photojournalist John Hokinson in Mountain View, Missouri right now. So that's the total eclipse at 100% right now in Mountain View. Just such a cool effect, Alex, seeing it, just around the edge. And Michelle, I know people say this is an emotional experience when you're able to experience 100%. What's it like to be able to take the glasses off? And we kind of heard the cheer behind you when you were talking us through it.
Oh, yes. I think they're shooting off fireworks, believe it or not.
Well, that'll do it.
Oh, yep, those would be fireworks. People are definitely celebrating here, and this is such an incredible, I don't even have words to describe this, Kevin. It is beautiful. It is stunning. You can see the streamers actually coming off of that corona. It is absolutely gorgeous and breathtaking. And I tell you what, if you have a chance in life to ever experience totality, I want to do this over and over and over again. I haven't seen too many birds flying around or any bats here at Mountain View, but we have a beautiful sight and a lot of oohs and ahs from the crowd that has gathered here. It's hundreds and hundreds of people who have come here to kind of beat the crowds in some of the bigger cities or more populated cities. So they are truly enjoying that right now.
Oh, that's amazing. And like you said before, we only have this for about 2 minutes and was it 14 seconds you said? So I mean, a relatively short amount of time, given how long people have waited, how far people have traveled to be able to be where you guys are.
It is, and here comes the diamond ring effect. Here comes the diamond ring effect, guys. You can see that shining so bright right now, and that is signaling that totality is coming to an end. So we will have to put on our solar glasses here in a moment, but we have seen totality officially. And now we are starting to see that diamond ring effect. It is very, very bright. Yeah. It is illuminating the sky, even though we still have most of the sun blocked. And you will start to see those Bailey's beads coming back into play right now. As totality has now ended, the skies are actually starting to lighten up. And I think everyone here is just in awe.
So that's amazing. We saw that diamond ring effect, and I understood what you meant by it as soon as we started to see it. But then it looked like the whole sun was back, and then we saw John put that cover right back over the top. And then to realize how much of the sun was uncovered, which is what we're looking at now, still almost none of it, still creates that incredible effect, really is awe-inspiring.
Yes, most definitely. Now, the next time we're going to see one here in the U.S., Kevin, is not until 2044, right. And that's for folks who are up in North Dakota as well as Montana. So not the most ideal location for a ton of people to be traveling to, but you won't have to wait too long after that. So 2045, just 1 year later, we will actually have that eclipse come through parts of Kansas and Missouri once again.
That's amazing. So you said the sky is starting to light up again, and I know we have special filters on the camera so it's to make it safe, so it's not going to quite look like it for our viewers. But what's it like to see the sky start to relight up again now? And I imagine that's a slow process also.
It is very, very slow. So we went from almost, past like a dusk feel, not quite like the darkest of night, because we did have that light illuminating around that corona. Really, really bright.
Wow.
So it wasn't like the deepest, darkest night, but it's like you're slowly like batting your eyes, opening them, and then more light is just coming in with every second here. Still very strange, a very strange feel because it is still dark in the middle of the day. But wow. What an incredible sight. Now, I think people have seen, obviously, totality. There's plenty of folks still viewing this, even though we're returning to that partial eclipse phase. But kids are running around, having a great time. A lot of families have been here, and that's been something really special to see. Kids sharing this with their parents, with their grandparents who have seen previous eclipses in their lifetime as well, and what a unique way to enjoy that.
That's so cool. Yeah, no, photojournalist John Hokinson just gave us a little bit of a view of what you guys are seeing on the ground there too, and you're right. I mean, it's dusk in the middle of the day, even as we start to head in the other direction right now. I mean, just pretty wild to see that. And you mentioned the temperature drop. I know in some extreme cases it can go about 10 degrees. Today's a warm day with no clouds. Is that what you guys felt was a little bit less than that? How did that work?
I would say that is a pretty accurate statement. It got very cool, not as cool as what this morning was. We were down into the upper 40s here, but I would say that is a pretty solid 10-degree drop that we did experience just with how quickly darkness fell. And you typically get that dip in temperatures, but as soon as that sunshine starts to return, we will slowly be heating things back up and probably pop back in well into the 70s for later today.
How cool. And just a couple minutes after we saw totality there, we already see a whole lot more of the sun starting to sneak out as the moon makes its departure kind of up into the left here as it moves through. Of course, we're taking a live look right now at Mountain View, Missouri. This is meteorologist Michelle Bogowith and photojournalist John Hokinson down there taking a look at what the path of totality looks like. We hit totality just about 5 minutes ago when we saw that complete and total eclipse, and then on the back end of it now, that diamond ring effect if you were hanging out with us then, and then right now that moon moving on as people starting to move on. In Chaffee, Missouri right now, folks use this time to throw up some fireworks into the sky at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's not often you'd be able to make out fireworks in the middle of the day, especially spring heading into summer. But of course, that total eclipse gives you a chance to do something like this. So this is a live look right now in Chaffee, Missouri, as they're doing that. Also, what would be interesting for baseball fans is we understand that former Cardinals recently retired All-Star Adam Wainwright is doing a concert there in Chaffee, Missouri. So they're getting ready to do that. He's an all-star pitcher, no doubter, Hall of Famer, launching a bit of a music career now and using the eclipse to do a little bit of that as well. Back at Mountain View, Missouri, where meteorologist Michelle Bogowith and photojournalist John Hokinson are hanging out. They saw totality. They showed it to us just a few minutes ago. Michelle talked us through some of those impacts, what to expect, what to see, and just what a treat for everybody down there to be able to see it. And I know, Alex, we were trying to make sure that we weren't going to be covered by clouds to be able to see it. A little touch and go a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
What a treat today, though.
I know. And luckily, We did break out into those mostly sunny conditions. Same thing for Michelle. Looks like she had some scattered upper level thin cirrus clouds, but that really wasn't much of a concern at all. Here's a little bit of a time lapse from Overland Park, Kansas, as we move throughout the last hour and a half or so. You may be able to notice the skies getting a little bit darker. There was definitely still some light. Our peak again was around 1:54 in the afternoon. What was really interesting, the shadows sharpened up a little bit. We did notice the temperature actually drop, even though you really didn't see much of a loss in the sunshine. Now we're starting to gradually see more and more of the sun. Plasma camera looking out towards west, still picking up on mostly clear skies at this point. This is probably the most impressive thing that we could show you. That includes the entire country, the shadow of the moon moving across the southern United States. This started out in the Pacific Ocean just to the south of Hawaii this morning. It quickly, very quickly raced through northern Mexico, Dallas, Texas, obviously northern Arkansas, southeastern Missouri. And you can see right now clouds that were originally showing up on the visible picture, they've been pretty much shut down underneath this shadow. That's one of the things that we typically notice with that totality path. Any clouds along it tend to evaporate away. We lose the engine to form those clouds once we move throughout totality. Now we're starting to go back the other way, and we'll eventually see some additional cloud cover. That temperature drop that we saw in Kansas City, we were at 64 degrees at 1 o'clock. The 2 o'clock update down to 61 out of KCI. Low 70s to the south and east, dropping right to 70 degrees for Warrensburg, Sedalia, and over towards Clinton. Now, as we move over the next hour or so, we're on the backside of the partial solar eclipse. This is what we did see, max eclipse in Kansas City at 1:54. Now we're going to start to see more and more of that sun by 3:11 this afternoon. We'll be back to normal, like nothing ever happened. But a really, really cool event here in Kansas and Missouri, something that we won't see in the middle of the country anyway until 2045. The Long Ranger, by the way, looking pretty nice, Kevin. Lots of 60s, 70s, maybe even some 80s by the weekend.
So wild to see the break in the clouds just right along that map that we've been looking at from Cape Girardeau all the way north. I mean, that's so incredible.
And it's really impressive because this shadow is moving so fast.
Yeah.
It's only a couple of minutes for totality, but it really only takes that much, that loss in energy for that small amount of window to really change potentially your entire sky.
Yeah, no, and how cool. And you can see in the bottom right part of your screen, that's the shot from Mountain View, Missouri in southeast Missouri. That showed us totality just about 10 minutes ago now. We can already see a good chunk of that sun starting to slip back in. Let's check back in with Michelle. So you guys have been out there, all morning long and taking a look at this now. What's the scene down there now?
Yeah.
Is it kind of anticlimactic as people start to pack up and leave? Or, I mean, this still looks like something fun to enjoy for folks who have made the trip.
Well, you know, I think a lot of folks are still enjoying. They have food trucks set up. They've had music and dancing and vendors all set up around Veterans Park here in Mountain View. And while some people, yes, are still lingering around, there are a lot of folks that have seen, they came, they saw, they conquered, and they are now heading home. And some of them may be trying to beat some of the traffic because I guarantee, Kevin, those highways are going to be packed. They had estimated anywhere between 30,000 to 50,000 folks traveling on the highways down here to get to their location in the path of totality for them to enjoy. So as we wrap things up here, I think everyone enjoyed not only the beautiful weather for the day today. So thankful that those high thin clouds were all we had to deal with. But as we kind of wrap things up, I think everyone truly enjoyed the awe-inspiring rare celestial event that is a total solar eclipse.
How cool. What a treat. Thank you, Michelle Bogowith and photojournalist John Hokanson in Mountain View, Missouri, showing us the eclipse in its totality. Of course, we're going to have a full wrap-up of the eclipse from the Kansas City Metro as well. Lexi French is in Overland Park, and Reagan Porter is in Lee Summit, bringing us all the latest information coming up at Fox 4 News at 4, 5, and 6 o'clock this afternoon. We'll get back to regularly scheduled programming now. Thanks for joining us on Fox 4 News.